Now what I should have told you was, where I'm running at is actually a hill. So I've already hit zone 3 and I'm only a minute and a half or so in. So I want to walk until my heart rate drops again, because maintaining your zones and zone training is important. And I'm still walking uphill. Not sure if you can tell this or not. If I turn around, you know, it's just not really a lot of view, but my driveway is pretty hilly. It's about a mile long. It has 2 large hills and then a couple of smaller hills. And that's just Eastern Kentucky topography for you. So now I've dropped down to zone 2. I think this is the first time I've ever actually recorded a run. And I just had 2 weeks off from my last 5K. And believe it or not, once you are in top physical shape, it only takes a week or 2, 3 at the most, if you don't work out, and it's almost like you're back starting over again. I'm actually in zone 1 now. I'm also headed downhill, one of the smaller hills. I've still got about 6 minutes of this first 10-minute section to do. So I'm getting near the bottom of the zone 1. So let me go ahead and start running again. It's going to just be a jog. Breathing is very important. Deep, slow, breathe in. Long, slow, breathe out. Back up another hill. Probably gonna have to start walking again. And we're walking again, because I'm getting into zone 3, toward the upper end of zone 3. So on the treadmill, I actually just control the treadmill speed and the incline to keep me right where I need to be at. And that works fine for on the treadmill and making sure that you hit your heart rate zones. But what I've found is, when you go to run outside, you can run great on a treadmill. When you go to run outside, it's way different. So that's why I'm starting to integrate outdoor runs along with the treadmill runs to make that transition seamless. Because right now I'm struggling on what is normally an easy thing for me to do on the treadmill. So now I'm at the top of this hill. We're coming up to one of the first big hills. I was kind of hoping that my 10 minutes would be up about the time that I got here. And it looks like that it is going to be close. Because what that allows me to do, it allows me to use these hills to get my heart rate up into zone 4 and 5. Way easier than if I was having to do it on flat level ground. So you can kind of see now this hill, maybe. I have about 2.5 minutes left of this first 10-minute section. I'm kind of guessing that's 2.5 minutes is going to end when I'm up at the top of the other side of this hill. Don't really know. Now I'm down into zone 1. I probably want to start running here again. Running downhill is always fun. Running again. Going up the hill now. Whew. Zone 5. Whew. At the top of the hill, Oh man. Just dropped into zone 4. Almost at the end of the driveway. I want to check the mail. Still in zone 4. I kind of need to maintain zone 4. So I'm gonna run a little bit. Starting down the hill. It's a nice hot stuffy day today. The barrel hurricane that pummeled Texas a day or two ago is hitting this area now. Any hour we should start getting the rain from that, so it's really humid and hot out. Then after that passes, there will be a cold front. So now I'm in the 3-minute zone 3 cool down. And I'm going downhill, so I got to run some of this too to maintain my heart rate in that zone. Then when I get to the bottom of the hill and start up, it won't be so bad. So yeah, zone-based training, kind of an important thing about it is the heart rate zone time is more important than whether or not you're walking or running. As long as you maintain your heart rate in those zones for the period, it's just as good. Walking, running, crawling, sitting on your butt if you want to, as long as you can maintain your heart rate in those zones. Actually accidentally went into zone 4 slightly, so I had to stop running. I'm gonna turn around and walk down, so that way when I do the next interval, the zone 4, zone 5, I'll be running up this hill. Starting the next interval, which means I need to be in zone 4 and 5, about 2.5 minutes in each. In zone 5, I was actually there for quite a bit of time. Oh. So I know this is mostly downhill, and I wanted to walk out zone 4, the remaining time, which is probably about a minute. Then I'll start my zone 3 cool down for 3 minutes. There's a slight hill. Not sure if you can see it or not. Probably about the time I get to the base of it will be where my zone 3 cool down starts. And I'll use that hill to maintain my heart rate in zone 3. Hopefully. And when I get done with this run, we'll review my stats and see how close I was, whether or not this works or not. I'm really unsure myself. Like, I think I've hit my zone 4 and 5 goals. Not so sure about zone 3. Not so sure about zone 1 and 2. But my zone 4 and 5 weekly goals are the hardest ones to meet. They take the most effort. Okay, so just felt my watch buzz about zone 3. Probably gonna have to run some in this one. Now, if I wasn't doing zone-based training, I could actually come out here and run this whole driveway. I've done it numerous times. I just run at a slightly faster pace going downhill and a slightly slower pace when I'm going uphill. And that's basically your heart rate. It's kind of like at a flat line. You're kind of like maintaining it level, but that don't really work for zone-based training. So I am started up this hill. I'm at about the middle of zone 3 and the hill will help me maintain that. I've got 1 minute and 50 seconds left at zone 3. But after that's my cool down, which is 5 minutes of zone 1 and 2. So I split them into like 2 minutes and 30 seconds each. So when I get to the top of this hill, I'll probably turn around and walk back down it. That'll allow my heart rate to start falling off. And then I'll be in that like a little flat bottoms area to kind of walk off zone 1 and 2. And now I know other people that do intervals, they do them by like running up steps. So maybe they got like a public community running track that's got bleachers or something. So they run the zones 1, 2, and 3. And then they go up the bleacher steps to hit zone 4 and 5. So I have a homesteading channel. It's under Sharp Ridge Homestead. And I used to post fitness videos, how I would train for like long distance hiking, how I would just train in general. And what I found was I didn't really get a lot of views on those because it is technically a homesteading channel. And when I asked people like if they were interested in that content, some people did want me to do fitness videos. I mean, staying fit greatly increases the length of your life. Not only that, it gave me a competitive advantage when I was fighting cancer, because two of the things the doctors told me that helped me so much when I know so many people that have died from the same cancer is that when I got cancer, I was already eating a what's known as a clean diet. I didn't eat processed foods. I grow 80% of all the food that I eat, or hunt or forage it or barter for it. And that gave me a great advantage, that my diet was great. I also worked out regularly, like 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. Weightlifting and cardio, so I was in good shape. The doctors actually told me that I was one of the healthiest, I'll just go ahead and tell you, 50-year-olds they'd ever seen. I didn't have no high cholesterol, no signs of heart disease or hardening of the arteries, and both of those run in my family on both sides. But I got cancer. And the thing of it is, I got cancer through something I did when I was younger, more than likely. I got HPV cancer in my throat and tonsils. HPV is technically an STD, but by the time you get cancer from it, the STD is long gone. The body's already fought it off. But what happens is that STD creates damage to cells in the body, and then those cells just lay in wait. And one day, the doctor said, generally 2 or 3 decades later, they show up and create cancer. Now, you probably remember that HPV from the new vaccines that came out for kids, and all the parents were throwing a fit about 11-year-olds having to get a vaccine for an STD at only 11 years old. Let me tell you, you want to make sure your children have that vaccine, because I've known a lot of people died from HPV. I only know me and one other guy that had that cancer that are still alive, out of 8 or 9 people that I've talked to through my cancer story that's on my Sharp Ridge Homestead channel. So you want to get your kids that vaccine. That is nothing to mess around with. Let me give you another statistic, since I know so much about it because I had it. 80% of all adults who have had more than one sexual partner in their lifetime have had HPV. Whether or not they get cancer from it or not, yet to be seen. Now that's a pretty high alarming statistic, but that is fact. You can look it up. There's lots of research been done. What happened was, they knew about the virus because it would show up sometimes in women's pap smears, but there's not really any test for it. You can't tell if you ever had HPV. They can only test for it in women while it's actively occurring. And you only have the HPV infection for a short period of time. So if you didn't get a pap smear when that was occurring, you would never know whether or not you had it. But 80% of all adults in the United States have had HPV today, if they had more than one sexual partner in their lifetime. And the chance of you having HPV obviously goes up astronomically by the number of sexual partners you've had. Not only that you've had, but your partners have had. So you kind of see how it got to 80% of all adults very quickly, because you don't really find very many people that have only ever had one sexual partner in their whole entire life, and that person only had one sexual partner in their entire life. In this day and age, that's just society the way it is today. All right, so technically my workout is done, but I kind of messed up that I never got my last 5 minutes zone 1 and 2, because I hovered right at the low end of zone 3, but I got a little bit of walk back to the house. So my zone 3 is going to be off for this run, and hopefully I can make up the zone 1 and 2 on the walk back. And you can let me know if you are interested in learning how to run. Maybe you've forgotten how to run, maybe you can't run, maybe you were like me. You love to run, but you just couldn't do it. I've got a training program that I can teach you that works. It took me literally, I tried to run for like 2 years. Just couldn't do it. And then I was like, you know, I'm gonna get a treadmill, and I'll go ahead and give you a secret. When I got the treadmill, I thought that I'd start running right away, and I found out I couldn't, even on the treadmill. What I had to do, even though I do long distance hiking, even though I do cardio, even though I do weightlifting, I had to learn to walk before I could run. Then I had to learn how to walk a little bit faster. Then I had to learn how to walk a little bit faster. Then I kept trying to run and I would fail. And I actually paid a trainer to help me remotely tell me what I was doing wrong. And he said, your form's a little bit off. You're actually doing great, but you're trying to run too fast. And let me tell you something. Like, to me, walking is walking like I'm doing now, and running is running, right? You're going to go full blast. You're going to run. You want to show people how fast you are. So I couldn't differentiate what's a fast walk and what's a slow run. Like, there was no difference there, because to me, a run was a run. There wasn't a slow run, a medium run, a fast run. So what that trainer did, he had me find a speed that I could walk comfortably for a long distance, like 3 miles, 5 miles. And I found out that was around 4.3, 4.4 miles an hour on the treadmill. And then he had me run at that speed. Now, that might not make sense. You're running at the same speed you can walk at. That is very, very hard to do. It took me weeks to finally get it right. And then once I got that, it was a breeze after that. That was the trick. That was well worth the money I paid him, because I would have never, ever, ever thought that was the solution. And literally about 4 months after he told me that, I started training for my first 5K using just, Polar has training programs on their website that you can sync to your watch. And you go in and you like say, I want to run a 5K and I want to be able to run the 5K and on this date. And then it asks you some questions like, how much do you run today? When you work out, do you sweat? None, a little, a lot, profusely? You know, how many times a week do you want to work out? It asks you questions like that. And then it creates a running training program for you based on how you answer those questions. Syncs it to your watch. Then all you have to do is look at your schedule and see what you got to do that day, and you just got to find a time period. I usually try to do like my runs in the morning and weightlifting in the evening, but that's kind of how it worked. So anyways, I'll go ahead and end this video. Thanks for watching, and let me know down in the comments if you're interested in this, because if you are, I'll keep uploading videos, and if you're not, I won't. Thanks.